This is Curtis coming at you from Ace Bread Studios, once again covering the NFL 2021 season. Still on a high from my Fins, our Fins, beating the Ravens. So I want to kind of stick with them. I'm going to get into some AFC coverage of the Bills and the Patriots. Really interesting storyline that's kind of converging. It's going to be one incredible matchup, those next two games between those two teams. But I want to focus on the Fins. And the part I want to focus on is what I keep hearing over and over again is, where has this defense been? Now, it's very easy to look at the Ravens game and, maybe even last week and say, wow, man, why is it all changed? As I said, my passion with football at first was because I was an aggressive kid, had ADHD, loved to hit people, run. I felt like alive. I loved the physical aspects. But when I became old and soldered, and I couldn't really play much anymore, the only way I could really connect with football again was watching it and then really learning to study it. And the beauty of football is that it is in excess of the physical side and the mental side. There is no game on earth that challenges the mind, both in the stable sense of like 1 + 1 = 2, and then the qualitative sense where 1 + 1 could be 9. You have to imagine, create. So it really wraps up the entirety of the human spirit, the human mind, the human body. And for me, that's football. It's just a passion, a deep, deep passion I have. So it's very easy in this nuance on the intellectual side to get swayed when you have a media that really presents two-dimensional takes or maybe even disingenuous takes to make sells. And so I've been saying for a long time, this defense is good. It's good defense. Flores is good. Boyer is good. And for the longest time, a lot of people were like, dude, I don't think so, man. I like it, but I don't think so. And I understood it. And I tried to present why it was. So I'm going to do a little condensed version for you here. And I'll point you to some of the videos that I have done in the past for more expanded views. And then we'll go into some film study, like a 7-minute film study of some really cool stuff that I found and picked out just from the early part of the game. I'm going to do another study, I think, add more to it. But there were some really cool little things that I found in my studies. And when I study, I really go over this tape over and over and over and over again. I got issues. My wife tells me I got issues, so I guess I got issues. Anyway, we opened up the season with a win thanks to the defense. Not only did they limit the Patriots to 14 points, they got the turnover, or the 13 points, I don't remember, whatever. They limited them to a couple scores. And they got the big turnover at the end, and that really held up our offense. They were on the field all day, though. But a critical aspect that I had spoke of in the lead up to that game was Rayquan Davis. What a special and unique style player, not only in his skill set as like this avant-garde nose tackle, but for this Dolphins team, he was critical. He was the anchor and a linchpin. Football is like chess in a way, where controlling those 4 center squares in the chessboard is like controlling between the hashes. The middle of the field is in football. And Rayquan Davis does that for Miami, unlike anybody else on the team. And it's a trickle-down effect where then you could take Sealer, you could take Wilkins and extend them out to the flanks where they're more successful. So his absence 5 plays in or so was devastating. And he was gone on IR, and thankfully he returned. Then there was that acclimation period of a game or two where you started seeing the trend for the run defense picking up? Because if you go back from week 2 to like, I don't know, week 6 or something like that, we were run on very consistently. But that trend is now descended. And as I've said before in my podcast, which I used a lot of analytics, a lot of statistical research, did a lot of like images to show clearly the information. Does Brian Flores and his defense suck? And not many people got into it. But what essentially is said is the top defenses in the league, they have 2 critical factors. A good pass defense and time of possession is on their side. There's like one defense that's not. But essentially, time of possession is a major indicator of a defense's success. And that drives a fresh defense, which allows the pass defense to stay fresh. Usually it helps the run defense, it helps everything. So, but basically the 2 critical factors were time of possession and pass defense. Now, the easiest and the most expedient way to get time of possession was number of rushing attempts. This was generally, some teams can pass their way to a time of possession, but it's very rare, it's very difficult. So last year, the Dolphins had a very successful defense. They had 6th in the league in time of possession. They also were 4th in scoring, but they were 16th in rushing attempts. And this fueled the time of possession. Gailey understood how to get the attempts in, when to rush, how to give the defense a rest. It's a skill. It's something few people really understand. But Gailey is a master of the run game. He goes back to Elway in the 90s with that zone stretch cut block run where he totally understood the run. And even with limited talents, was able to give us 6th time of possession and 16th rushing attempts. We didn't rush the football at all this year. We were unsuccessful in time of possession. We were, I forgot what it was, 8 or 9 minutes a game over the offense, which is it's not supposed to be. The offense is supposed to have the ball more than defense. So the loss of Davis, this time of possession issue that kept arising, the lack of a rushing game generating attempts or a passing game able to get it, kept putting us in the hole of time of possession. But then in week 4 against the Colts, Byron Jones got injured. Midweek, the following week, I believe, Howard got injured. They went into the Tampa game, both of them less than who they were, and then the following week, both were out. These are mitigating circumstances. These are context to why the defense wasn't playing up to its standards. Now, since then, Davis has come back. Dolphins have found some way to get much better time of possession. That's led to the defense being more effective. They played lesser teams too. But it all kind of came together in this Ravens game. And they've called the same defense as last year. You can't just bring max pressure and run 0 all day every game. Some matchups favor this, some don't. Some they favor using it sporadically. Because remember, if the offense gets caught off guard and loses its initiative, it's the primary asset of offense. And if a defense can do this, then they have a major advantage. But if everybody knows you're going to just bring 0 blitz edge pressure, they can scheme for it, they can plan for it, and we really didn't see it to this degree. We saw it last week, and it came out this week. They were able to stop the run, even though they were getting edge runs early, but once those shut down, the interior runs shut down, and we understood that Lamar has problem going through his progressions and throwing outside the numbers. And that is one way to take care of this pressure defense. And so all this kind of came together for this amazing defensive show, which we saw last year. But it wasn't that it became, it always was, but there were certain mitigating circumstances that withheld this defense to be what it could be. So now we're in the evaluation stage. Now we have to say, well, what we were told that Flores sucks, Boyer sucks, might not have been accurate. And then we have to go back and say, well, what else were we being told that's not accurate, and reassess. It's okay to be wrong. Everyone's wrong. It's not that I'm some kind of genius or brainiac or rocket scientist. I just watch these games over and over and over and over again. And when you watch a live game, it's designed to bring passion and emotion. You watch all 22 film, if that was the only time you saw it, you'd be like, oh, okay. There's just not the pop. There's not the excitement. My first viewing of a game always is the live coverage because it's just edited and designed to get you emotionally activated. Unfortunately, when you're emotionally activated, you can't make good assessments. This is the beauty of all 22. It's dispassionate. It takes all emotion out and shows you better angles. And so the fact that I just watch this stuff over and over again, and I've developed a technique, it's not some rocket scientist thing, it works for me, maybe work for you, whatever, that allows me to take the passion out and kind of see things like, oh, that's... And so this is what I would say to you going forward. Once the game's over, understand you've watched something that's meant to evoke passion in you. Highly complex game. Everything's moving 1,000 miles an hour. You can't make a long-term judgment on it based on this one viewing of a passionate creation. Take your time. If you don't have all 22, go back. Watch it a couple times without passion, and then you'll get a better view. So let's take a look at the tape and see what we see. Davis, look at this double block he picks up. Takes the chip and the split, and he was able to hold a point, which stops the run play. Again, you can see here, one-on-one doesn't work. Should have been down right there with the touch. Guy's just a dominant player. Again, you see it here. He gets off the block and makes a tackle. His absence was huge for this defense. But then look at Wilkins. He's gotten a lot of junk over the last couple of years, but some of it he deserved. But this year he's coming on. Look at this double chip, gets off, and is part of the tackle. He did not move. And this is something you'll see from him again and again and again. Here they try to do one-on-one. And it ain't happening. Look at his drive. That's his agility and speed. So it really puts teams in a quandary, especially when Davis, Seela, and Wilkins are on the field. Now, watch Duke Riley. This is beautiful coverage. Look at that comeback. That is a great athletic play to get the tackle. Riley is really coming on strong. Some weaknesses, but he's really bolstering this linebacking group. And watch here again. His read and react, and again, Byron Jones, both of them choosing the right leverage and sealing off the run. But Riley, Riley and the general zone defense, middle of the field, they really need to tighten up their zone coverage. And you see right here, his drop is at an angle, and it bunches him up with Van Ginkel. And this now opens a crease in the middle for Lamar to force the ball through. But if you drop back straight, it probably would have closed the window. It probably would have closed the window and maybe had him check down below to the fullback instead of the big play over the top. But this is zone defense is very simple and yet very difficult. Again, we talk about edge protection. Byron Jones coming up and making a great play. Look, he's not the best cover corner at times. And remember, too, he's also left on an island all the time. But his physicality, his protection of the edge is in the run game is excellent. Now, look here. Watch Coleman get jacked. Watch Baker, who's got inside help, should know this, takes inside leverage on the running back. And this then allows the bounce out and a big, big play between him and Coleman. And honestly, Baker, as good as he is in blitzing, and he's pretty good in coverage at times, his run protection, his run defense is just not good. It's bordering on terrible. Even in plays like that where it's a space play and it's speed and it's not, that was a receiver that boxed him out and took control of him. You see, on this one, you can see Howard, the difference between Howard and Byron Jones. Howard just gets bullied out, pries open the gap, and they get a big play because he's really not having any of that. He's not really a physical player. He gets his big plays and the turnovers. That's critical. But you have to ask yourself, what about the consistency? What about the other aspects? With that bum knee, his coverage also suffers as well. And look, Jones, I love watching this. The two safeties we picked up, Jones and Holland, are fantastic. And, Jones is the more physical guy. Watch him come up into the box, and he could easily come head on with this guy, and he wouldn't be able to take care of Lamar breaking to the outside. But he takes outside leverage at the last second, which is good agility and not bad recovery speed. And him and Van Ginkel able to force Lamar out. That was a big play. Again, you can see here, watch Byron Jones at the bottom. He meets his man, doesn't give an inch, and is able to hold him off and be in on the tackle. And that's big. Again here, you can see Jones sealing his guy with the right leverage. He understands he has inside help, and so he seals the outside, forcing the receiver back inside to the help. And this was another big play turned into a fumble. So you can see right there, Jones has many aspects of his play that are solid, if not good. Oh, look at Holland. I love this. Holland, and watch the celebration at the end. Look at that. Holland is a physical player, plays with passion. There's just nothing not to like about this kid. He's just phenomenal. And you see Holland off the screen, come charging into the screen here, and breaks down and makes that tackle. The ability to read, explode, attack, and make the tackle. Trips him up, but, close enough. Again, here, watch his ability to read. He's dropping. He's watching the eyes of the quarterback. He knows he's got two options. And he never lets go of his understanding of his help on the second inside receiver. And look at the range that he has on this play. That is special. Both intelligence, agility, change of direction, and speed. And watch the celebration. I love this. Look at this. That's the kind of guy you want on your team. Fantastic pick. All right, this is a real interesting one. I mean, if you watch some of my tape from last week, there was zone blitz where Butler was dropping. It was just really bad design. But now they put him to the short side instead of the long side, which is exactly the way I said it should have been. And look at the coverage he provides. Watch him drop and keeping his eyes. He stops the pass on two receivers. It was phenomenal. I don't know if he can do this every time, but that was pretty impressive. All right, you can see how valuable Davis is. You can see Wilkins has taken a big step forward. And when you could put Davis and bring Jenkins in occasionally there, and you can have Sealer and Wilkins on the flanks, that semi 3-4 look that they bring up is very, very potent. You add Agba, you add Phillips, you add Van Ginkel, you add Baker occasionally blitzing, and then you bring in those outside pass rushing by the safeties or maybe occasionally a corner. You've got something. Because if you control that center, then you force them to focus on that, and then you attack the flanks. So this defense was good. Within context, it wasn't what we wanted. But remember the symbiotic relationship. It's like husband and wife, offense and defense. If your offense is terrible, your defense is going to suffer. And conversely, and there's many, many reasons for that, but I can't get into that now. You have to be like, the 85 Bears, to have that kind of defense to overcome. But they had Walter Payton. So no defense can survive an absolutely inept offense. There's just no way. And you can see this defense, it comes to life with just a little bit of offense. So we got a big game coming up. I'm going to do some more coverage. I'm going to actually do a long podcast and go over a bunch of topics. I'll have timestamps in there so you can pick and choose what you want or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of stuff to cover before this next game, and I want to get to it. So I want to say thank you for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comments mean the most. I really appreciate that. I learned so much from you guys. From hearing from you, it really makes me constantly reassess, and that's the most important thing for a good evaluator is reassessing yourself. So I appreciate that. Subscribes and likes, they help us with the Google overlords, keep us in business. I want to give a shout out to aceperhead.com, the best online sportsbook. They want to let you know with their world-class software, you can get on the action with friends, family, and coworkers as a local bookie. Without them, this ain't happening. Without you, it ain't happening. I'm very grateful. I really didn't want to do this stuff, this camera thing, whole thing. But oddly, I'm really finding a passion for it. It's a little bit easier than constantly writing. Writing gives you a headache once in a while. This is a little bit more free flow and relaxing. I really enjoy it. So I'm grateful to both Ace Per Head and you guys. So thank you for staying to the end. This is Curtis saying, catch you next time and be well.